Um, since today we're celebrating 42 years of Shishi Gornitai's being here in Heidelberg, I thought let us discuss one of the most important books of our tradition, and that means the Sri Caitanya Charitamrta of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in which we learn about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, whom we worship here in Meckesheim. Okay. Before I start, I should ask about time. What time should I stop? What is our schedule? Mm-hmm. Oh, lots of time. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. The image on the right is Sri Advaita Acharya. Can you all see the screen? Yeah. Advaita Acharya, before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, some 50 years before he appeared, Advaita Acharya appeared. And he was living in a place not so far from Navadvip. The town which is still there is called Shantipur in what is now West Bengal. And he one day decided, we need help. We are in trouble. We are in big trouble. This is the age of Kali. Manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagya hi upadruta. In this age, people tend to be quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, and always disturbed. Not you, of course, but most people. So, Advaitacharya, whom the later tradition recognized to be none other than Lord Vishnu himself, at the same time, a special form of Lord Shiva, Sada Shiva, made a decision. We're going to call the Lord himself to this world to help us out. I may be Lord Vishnu, but I still need help. And so he prayed and he worshipped. He worshipped the Lord in the form of Shalagram Shila. Shalagram Shila is a special form of deity which appears in the Himalaya mountains as a black stone and which is worshipped since countless ages as a form of Narayana, of the Lord. So he worshipped and he called out, here comes Shalagram Shila with eyes. He's watching you. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Little bit of geography. So we all have some idea of India. Perhaps, I think many of you have come from India, so you're familiar with your country. Anyone here from Bengal? Bangla Bhasha Bolchen. Achibat. Okay. No, that was Hindi. Um, so the on the left is India with a kind of square area, which is indicating the map, the extent of the map on the right, which is showing um, Bengal and part of what is now called Bangladesh. West Bengal. Oops, we went back. Whoops. What's happening there? No? Hare Krishna. If there's something that I can do with the controller, then I could do it myself, or is the line too short? He's hiding behind you. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so that's just to give you a little geographical orientation. This is where the round circle is on the right. This is where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, or we prefer to say appeared. He is a divinity. He's not just a divinity. We understand he is Parama Purusha, the supreme person, supreme personality of Godhead. But that's all explained in this book, Caitanya Charitamrta. Now, before this Snanvedi was placed where it is, I happened to notice that in the back corner on the ground, on the X? On the right button. Thank you. There is what looks like a set of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a very rather large book, and it's been translated by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, from Bengali, and he has written extensive commentary. Much of the commentary is based on another commentary by his guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So in that book, we understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called Mahaprabhu, the great master. Why? Because he is none other than Krishna himself appearing in this age of Kali. Nope, that didn't work. Let's try it again. This one maybe. No. All right, there's got to be there we go. Let's see. Let me just check if that's the next one. Yeah, that's the next. Okay, we're good. In Caitanya Charitamrita, in the first part called the Adi Lila, from chapters, let me think, chapter 13 through 17, we get a description of Chaitanya's early life, his birth and his childhood and his youth. And so here is an image just showing one of the episodes that's described very briefly. Lord Chaitanya's childhood is described very briefly in the Caitanya Charitamrita because, as Krishnadas Kaviraj himself says, there is a much more detailed description in another book that was already written long before he wrote the Caitanya Charitamrita, namely the Chaitanya Bhagavata of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, whom Krishnadas Kaviraj describes or refers to as the Vyasa of Caitanya Lila. So he gives him very high praise. The Chaitanya Bhagavata of Vrindavan Das Thakur is telling about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, his pastimes, his transcendental activities, mainly in his early life, mainly before he leaves Navadvip permanently and takes sannyas. In what we see in this picture, little Chaitanya, who at this time is known as Nimai, is having an argument with his mother. What is the argument? The argument is that he wants to eat dirt. Small children tend to do that. Parents know. Why do they eat dirt? Perhaps they are following the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his mother, Shachi Devi, is saying, no, don't do that. That is not right. And little Nimai is saying, why not? What's the difference if I eat dirt or if I eat these sweets which you offer? What is the difference? He's playing with her in a sort of philosophical way, as if he is a Mayavadi who is saying everything is one, everything is the same. There is no difference between dirt and sweets. Anyway, that's one of many episodes in which Chaitanya is demonstrating his extraordinary qualification, not just extraordinary, but super extraordinary qualification. Let's see if this works. It seems to, well, sometimes it was, maybe there's a trick. There. Let's see if this is, yes. All right. Well, now we're jumping ahead, way ahead in his life, because I'm really just giving some brief impressions here. Suddenly now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a young man and he is with some of his associates. In fact, the painting shows him together with the other members of what came to be called the Pancha Tattva. Pancha means 5, and Tattva means truth. So 5-fold truth. It's a very big topic. It's a very rich topic of theology, which I won't I will explain, but not yet here. Just to say, in the center is shown Sri Chaitanya, and to our left and his right, immediately wearing blue, is Nityananda Prabhu, who is identified as none other than Balaram. And then further to our left, on the far left, is Advaita Acharya, who invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to appear. Then to the right of Chaitanya, from our perspective, is Gadadhar Pandit, who was a friend of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a child and as a young man. They used to argue with each other about um, academic subjects of Sanskrit grammar and logic. And they had sweet exchanges in this way. And later in Puri, they had other kinds of very sweet exchanges. Gadadhar is a very, very dear associate of Caitanya, as is Srivas Thakur on the far right, shown here playing mridanga. Srivas Thakur is identified by our tradition as being none other than Narada Muni. And when we sing kirtan, we chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhara, Srivas Adi, Gaura Bhaktavrinda. This Srivas Adi means beginning with Srivas Thakur, Gaura Bhaktavrinda, the vrinda, the forest of Gaura Bhaktas, of devotees of Caitanya, who is also known as Gaura or Gauranga. And so you see in the pictures, there's so many persons also behind, and they're all singing and chanting and having a good time. So this was the beginnings of Caitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtana movement. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidya Vadu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Pratipadam Purnam Ritasvadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Caitanya Mahaprabhu invites all of us to participate in his Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, or congregational or collective glorification, praising of Shri Krishna. Why? Because it has all kinds of wonderful results. And the first of these results is Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Our chetas, our consciousness, is compared to a mirror, but it tends to be a mirror which is covered by dust and dirt and mud and who knows what, so that we cannot see who we are. We don't even know who we are. We think we know who we are, but do we know? Do we really know who we are? So, Cheto Darpana, that's Darpana, which is the heart, the consciousness. Marjanam, we can purify it, we can clean it, we can make it nice, we say in English, squeaky clean. So it's squeaky clean, so we can see ourselves clearly, and when we can see ourselves clearly, we can see that we have a wonderful relation to the Supreme Self, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Caitanya Mahaprabhu to teach this practice for us. Okay, now I want to get a little bit technical. I hope you can see it's a little bit small written. I wanted to give some idea of how the Caitanya Caritamrta is related to other sacred texts, other books which we hold sacred, you can see in the center of this diagram is Bhagavata Purana, or the Srimad Bhagavatam, and below that is the Bhagavad Gita, and above is the Caitanya Charitamrta, and way down at the bottom you see it says Veda. So that's supposed to represent an ocean. There's an ocean of knowledge, the Veda. And now if you follow the yellow line from the ocean on the left side, you will see Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva, Samhitas. So those are the sort of core, the sort of basic texts of the Vedic literature. And those are expanded to include the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, and the Upanishads. Okay, so that's, and then you'll see further up where that yellow line goes is written Brahminical traditions. Now, the plot thickens. You know this expression? The plot thickens. Now it's going to get more complicated. If we follow the yellow circle, either around over the top or from the bottom to the right, near the top, you'll see it says Shramanical traditions. Now, this word you may not be familiar with. What are the Shramanical traditions? Well, the ones which became most prominent, historically speaking, in India were the Buddhists and the Jains, or Jaina. But it's a little more complicated than that, because there are Shramanas, that is, persons who live an ascetic life, a life of austerities, who are not Buddhas and they're not Jains, but who may identify more with the Brahminical tradition. Okay, that's getting a little complicated. But the general point, what I want to say is, you'll see in the center again, Bhagavad Purana, and on the directly to the right, it says ascetic current, and on the left it says bhakti current, and in very small letters, left and right of Bhagavad Gita, it says yajna and ahimsa. So what I want to say with this is these are major themes where yajna is associated with Brahminical tradition, and the Shramanical tradition, they're not into yajna, they're into asceticism, and their basic ethic is ahimsa. What means ahimsa? You all know. Nonviolence. It's usually translated as nonviolence, yeah, for convenience. Okay. I also mention on the bottom left near the Bhagavad Gita, there are two very important literatures, epics they're called, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And of course, the Bhagavad Gita is one small part of the Mahabharata. So both of these texts are also coming out of this ocean of Veda, but they have a different flavor. And they're much more accessible to us than the Rig, Sama, Yajura, Dharva Veda, the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, and Upanishads. So these are very important. But for us, we could say, as does our Acharya Srila Jiva Goswami, the Bhagavata Purana is the center of what followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are all about. And that is demonstrated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, in addition to, or besides being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the ideal reader of the Srimad Bhagavatam. When he reads, or mostly he just hears devotees reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, what happens to him? He becomes overwhelmed in intense, we say, ecstatic devotional moods. So that's very much what Chaitanya Charitamrita is about. Okay. Now, more diagrams. I sort of like diagrams. Hope you don't mind. But I wanted to explain, I was thinking about, we saw before the painting of the Panchatattva, all of them singing Hare Krishna, having Sankirtan. And I mentioned that there's a theology of who is who in this Panchatattva. So here we're just very briefly touching on this, where we have, first of all, the two larger circles. On the left, representing Krishna, on the right, Radha. And you notice they're intentionally overlapping. They're overlapping. Why? Because in one sense, they're inseparable. Even when they experience separation. And that feeling of separation is especially felt by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is represented by his, by the yellow, the mustard colored square in the middle. And then we have to the left and the right the other four members of the Panchatattva, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Pandit, and Srivas Thakur. And now, if you look up on the top, it says Panchatattva, and then we have Shaktiman and Shakti, and then we have Bhagavan and Bhaktas, and then we have Krishna and Radha. So what I'm trying to suggest is there's a kind of correspondence. Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya are both Shaktiman. What is Shaktiman? Shaktiman means the one who possesses Shakti. What is Shakti? Everyone's heard of Shakti. Generally, we translate as power. It can also be understood as the potential to act. So, Shakti and Shaktiman, Shaktiman and Shakti, Radha is the embodiment of the internal Shakti of the Supreme Lord. We could expand on this. It can get more complicated, but it's too hot today to do that. So we have Shaktiman and Shakti. We have Bhagavan and Bhaktas. So Bhagavan is Krishna, the Supreme Lord means Bhagavan. And Bhaktas is again embodied is the full manifestation of being a Bhakta is Radha. as is Gadadhar Pandit, or are Gadadhar Pandit and Shivas Thakur. And then we have Krishna and Radha. And finally, you see the large circle that encloses all the other represents the Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. That's the followers of Lord Chaitanya. That's all of us aspiring. We are aspiring Gaura Bhaktas. Yes? No? Yes. No? Yes. No? Okay. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shiva Sadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm not yet finished with these diagrams. Let's see if we can get. There we go. The plot thickens. So I've been reading the Caitanya Charitamrta over so many years, and sometimes I'm wondering how to sort of conceptualize in a sort of systematic way how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu relates with different personalities that he meets, as described in this book, the Caitanya Charitamrita. And this is what I came up with. So I know it needs some explanation. So we start with the yellow mustard colored circle in the center. And that circle represents the big circle that we saw in the previous previous diagram, which was Lord Chaitanya with all of his associates and Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay? And then we have concentric circles surrounding that center point. And I just put them in different colors, and I didn't intend for them to be asymmetrical in location. That just happened. They could be symmetrical. So what do we have? What does the pink circle represent, or the pink ring around the yellow circle? So that represents other Vaishnava groups, that is to say, not Gaudiya Vaishnava, but Vaishnavas of other sampradayas, other traditions. So, for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after he takes sannyas, he travels to South India. And in South India, he meets so many different people, including followers of the what is today called the Sri Vaishnava tradition. The Sri Vaishnavas are very prominent, mainly in Tamil Nadu. Do we have any devotees from Tamil Nadu? Ah, so you know. Yes. So there are some very big temples. Sri Rangam is a Sri Vaishnava temple. And there's Venkateshwara temple is one of the most famous. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Let's go back. Yeah. So, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visiting Sri Rangam temple and staying for 4 months during the rainy season. He was a guest of the head priest of the Sri Rangam temple, Venkatabhatta. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we read about the friendly joking that was going on between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Venkatabhatta. It was friendly joking, which I won't go into detail about, but they were kind of saying, in friendly ways, they were saying, our Krishna is superior to your Vishnu. Not so sure about that. Our Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because Lakshmi is worshipping him, and like that. Okay, so there was different groups of Vaishnavas which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets. And that's described. So I've put that as the immediate adjacent circle next to the center because they're Vaishnavas. They're close in their culture, their practice, their ideas, their way of life. Okay, but then we have in the next circle, which is more saffron color, at least looks like from here, this represents other Brahminical traditions. What do I mean by other Brahminical traditions? Well, for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets in Varanasi a certain Brahmin named Prakashananda Saraswati. And they also have a conversation. That conversation is very different from the one that Chaitanya has had with Venkatabhatta in South India. In fact, it's considered so important by Krishnadas that he tells about this exchange not once but twice in different parts of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is establishing Vaishnava Vedanta, the philosophy of Vedanta over the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. That's another big subject which I won't put you to sleep with now. And besides, it's too warm here today. Of course, it's warm, but it's just like India, isn't it? We can just imagine we're in India, and it's not even summertime in India. If it were summer, it would be 10 degrees hotter, right? Yes. Okay. Is this interesting for you? Shall I continue? Okay. Let's go to the next ring, which is kind of light blue color. And this is representing 3 different sorts of persons that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met. The first is Shaktas, that is those who worship the Shakti rather than the Shaktiman. Especially in Bengal, people like to worship Durga Devi, often together with Shiva, and often in forms of Tantra, which the Brahmanical culture or Brahminical culture very much rejects. Again, another big subject we won't go into. Another group that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met in South India, he met some Buddhists. And there's a quite humorous story about his meeting the Buddhists. The Buddhists wanted to embarrass Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they came to him as if they want to offer something nice for him to eat. But what they had to offer him was not something nice. It was something not nice. It was some meat. And they thought they could trick him into eating that meat. And then he would be, they would laugh at him. They would say, oh, he is very fallen, and so on. What happens, Krishnadas Kaviraj tells us, is just as Mahaprabhu was about to take the plate that they offered to him, a big bird came and grabbed the plate and flew up into the sky and dropped everything onto the Buddhas, including the plate, and the plates dropping hit the head of their leader and made him fall down and faint, staying unconscious until the devotees called out, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then he came awake, and then, like that, the story goes. By the way, Nityananda Prabhu also interacted with Buddhists, probably Tantric Buddhists in Bengal, and inspired them to chant Hare Krishna and to take up Krishna Bhakti. A third subgroup of this ring of blue we're calling tribals or Adivasis. In chapter 17 of the Madhya Lila, we read that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu walked from Puri in present-day Odisha all the way to Vrindavan in central North India, and on the way through the jungle, the Jharikanda jungle and then other parts, he met different tribals, and he inspired them also to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Another category in sort of brighter green, I think I ran out of colors. This is identified as Muslims. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, according to Krishnadas Kaviraj, had several interactions with Muslims who, in that time in India, were considered, well, they were such that the Orthodox, what came to be known as Hindus, would be very careful to avoid because of their habits. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, interacted with them, and most famously, he interacted with the person who became known as our Nama Acharya, namely Haridas Thakur. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. So the history, the tradition says that he came from a Muslim background, but he took up very seriously the chanting of the Mahamantra, so seriously that practically speaking, all he would do day and night was to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He would just go on chanting. And when it came the time that he was old and feeble, and it was difficult for him to go on chanting what he had made as a vow to chant so many malas of Mahamantra, he apologized to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said, "Don't worry about it. It is not necessary for you to chant all the time like you do." But then the next day, Mahaprabhu understood, actually, the time has come. He is going to end, his life is coming to an end. And so he took Haridas, who again, from his background, he was a Muslim, but he took on his lap, and Haridas left his body in the arms, you can say, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who then lifted him up physically and danced with him and personally made samadhi for him. So that's, and there are other incidents in which Mahaprabhu engages with Muslims and changes their hearts. The final circle, the outermost circle, is in some ways also innermost. It's referring to, and this will surprise you, it's referring to animals and plants and different kinds of objects and different kinds of substances, especially water in the form of ocean, in the form of river, and objects in the form of mountain. All of these together I put into one, just for simplicity, into one category. Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, interacts with animals in wonderful ways. Again, that's described especially in Madhya Lila chapter 14, when he inspires all sorts of animals of the forest, of the jungle, to come together, to forget about their identity as deer and tiger and snake and different kinds of animals, to forget their identity like that and simply to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Now, can you imagine a tiger chanting Hare Krishna? It's hard enough to imagine that. Now imagine a tiger embracing, not attacking, but embracing a deer and dancing and kissing. That's what Krishnadas Kaviraj describes is going on, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there inviting them, saying, "Come on, chant Hare Krishna." He even, when he first comes and sees one tiger who is lying down, just sleeping on the path, he gently kicks the tiger. "Hey, Chief Jago, wake up. Wake up and chant Hare Krishna." "Oh, okay." Yeah, so I think we're done with the diagrams now. Maybe I should pause for a moment and see if anyone has a question on any of this kind of abstract talk which I've been speaking now. Everyone's okay? Don't be shy if you have a question. Go ahead. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, perhaps you didn't hear that. Okay, before, let me respond first. Yeah, I'll first respond and then we can say. The So, what is your good name? Anand. Yes, Anand. Thank you. So, Anand is saying that Buddhists um, have a practice. In general, they will not eat meat, but on certain occasion, they will, in order to demonstrate or to act out what they understand as a kind of non-duality. Um, that's very possibly true of certain Buddhists. There are any number of different Buddhist traditions. The um, and within different major categories, there's different subcategories, and they all have different practices. And for the most part, the Buddhists who are more in the West, by which I mean Sri Lanka and perhaps Thailand and in Tibet, for the most part, it's hard to generalize, but they're possibly more inclined to eat meat. And those who are further east, they may be more inclined to not eat meat because of strong emphasis in Mahayana Buddhist traditions. Yes, please feel free to move forward. So, thank you. The Caitanya Charitamrita does not tell us what sort of Buddhists these were that Mahaprabhu was meeting. In fact, by the time of Mahaprabhu, that's in our Western calendar, the 16th century, mostly Buddhists had disappeared from India. There was very little. The remaining sorts of Buddhists in India, according to historians, were Tantric Buddhists. And Tantric Buddhists, um, again, to generalize is a little dangerous, but Tantric Buddhists tend to eat meat with that idea that you mentioned, that they want to um, they want to say that there is non-duality by eating meat. That's my understanding. Yes. Anything else? You had a point? Yeah. No, on the first slide was Advaita Acharya. And he appeared long before, well, about 50 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he prayed to Krishna, to Vishnu, please appear because we need help. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. No, Buddhism in terms of historical understanding was much, much, much earlier. Usually they say fifth century before the Common Era. So we're talking here about 2,000 years later. But there were Buddhists in India, but not so many. Most of them had had Buddhism had sort of receded in India for various reasons, but it's kind of a mystery. Historians speculate, why did Buddhism disappear? It came back in the modern time, in the 20th century. It's become, again, especially in Maharashtra and in North India, Tibetan Buddhism with the Dalai Lama and his followers. Yeah. Mm. Oh, that's an interesting question. It's not, I didn't put Kshatriyas anywhere in this diagram, although it could be interesting to do that. King Prataparudra was the king of Puri, and he was a very enthusiastic devotee of Chaitanya. And so it could be possible to include him in the central circle. But he met other Kshatriyas, we could say the Muslim, he didn't meet the Muslim king directly, but he met the Kaji of the district of Navadvip, of Nadia, who was, you could say, a kind of Kshatriya, although he might not call himself a Kshatriya. Yeah, I didn't make such a detailed diagram to include everyone. The Caitanya Charitamrta includes, at least by name, more than 300 different persons, most of them devotees, of followers of Chaitanya. Yeah. Yes, Anand. Yes. Mm-hmm. I have to say that I don't know enough about them to really say. Yeah, right. Yeah, 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 right. Yeah, basically that suggests that they're, whether they would explicitly say or not, that a kind of panchopasana worship is there. And that would be identified with the Brahminical traditions. Yes, yes. Good. Okay. I think I have now. You're doing very well, I must say. You're all very peaceful despite all of this what I'm giving you. Let's see if we can move on. There. Okay. Yes. Possibly more times than you. Okay, this is showing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan. I just wanted to show this painting because I like the mood that it expresses. We understand, as I've been explaining, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna. Krishna, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, appeared around before the beginning of the age of Kali. So ages ago, and then he grew up in Vrindavan. And so the idea of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returning, going to Vrindavan, is that he is now Krishna returning to home after so many thousands of years. And when he returns home, the residents of Vrindavan, especially the deer, of course, these would not be the same deer as at the time of Krishna, but there is this mood, this sense that they recognize, just as all of the animals, the flora, the fauna, all of the beings of Vrindavan were overwhelmingly attracted to Krishna, where the name Krishna means attractive, from karsha. Karsha means to draw. Sankarshana is the name of Balaram, who is Nityananda. And Sankarshana, Karshana is what you do with a plow. You draw it, you pull, and in this way you perform a basic function of farming. But Sankarshana and Krishna are appearing in Vrindavan, and Krishna in particular is all attractive. Mahaprabhu did not stay in Vrindavan very long. He only stayed for 2 months. His initial plan was to just go there and stay for the rest of his life. But his assistant, Balabhadra Bhattacharya, begged him. He said, please, 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 Mahaprabhu, we have to leave here. We have to leave. Why? Because here your life is in danger. Why was his life in danger? Because whenever he would see the river Yamuna, he would dive in and he would forget to come to the surface, to breathe. And Balabhadra would have to dive in to drag him back out. And this was going on every day. And also, so many people were coming to see him. There was no peace. And Balabhadra Bhattacharya he said, I'm going crazy. Take me away from, please, let's go away. So they left. But on the boat, on the way in the Yamuna, going toward the Ganga, again Mahaprabhu became ecstatic again, and this is showing him causing big trouble for his friends as he's forgetting everything because he's remembering Krishna. Back in Puri, eventually, he remained for the final 17 or 18 years of his life. And every year they would celebrate Jagannath Ratha Yatra. I know you had Ratha Yatra here in Heidelberg recently, a very rainy Ratha Yatra, yes? That's very auspicious. When it rains on Ratha Yatra, it's successful. Yeah, that's what they understand. So before the Ratha Yatra is the cleansing of the Gundicha Mandir. And this is told in very beautiful detail by Krishnadas Kaviraj, where all the devotees together with Mahaprabhu are scrubbing and cleaning and cleaning and scrubbing and scrubbing and cleaning. And they're communicating with each other with 3 words: Hare, Krishna, and Rama. These are the only 3 words. So if someone needed someone to bring more water, I just lost my connection here, I think. if someone needed water, oh, it just changed. Okay. Then someone would chant, Krishna, Krishna, bring water, bring water, like that. But the main point of that story is it's about cleansing the external temple, but more than that, it's about cleansing what's inside. It's about cleansing our heart. It's about cleansing us from our selfish motivations. Okay, here we are now in the Ratha Yatra and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is really, I would say, in one way, the dramatic high point of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chapter 13 of the Madhya Lila, describing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing with his friends in front of the Jagannath Ratha and chanting and dancing and singing and spinning around in circles and falling on the ground and again jumping up and spinning and offering prayers to Lord Jagannath. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me. Yes. How are we doing? Yeah, let's go to the next. While the Ratha Yatra was going on, sometimes Mahaprabhu would take a break because he was intensely dancing. So he would take a break in a nearby garden. On the left in this picture is a rendering of King Prataparudra, and the artist decided that he needs to still wear all of this gold jewelry, but as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was not wearing all of that gold jewelry because he was disguising himself as a simple Brahmin so that Sri Chaitanya would allow him to approach him. A sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have interaction with what Srila Prabhupada called pounds and shilling and pence people who are dealing in the material world, especially kings. And so when the devotees of Mahaprabhu said to him that King Prataparudra wants to meet you, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "No way, forget it. It's not possible." And when they brought that message back to King Prataparudra, King Prataparudra said, "Well, then, I'm going to give up my position as king, and I'm going to wander as a mendicant." The devotees were terrified. If he would do this, this would throw the entire kingdom into chaos. So they felt necessary to somehow or other bring Lord Chaitanya and the king together. And so they devised this trick, this plan, that he would come disguised as a Brahmin. And as a Brahmin, he could approach Mahaprabhu and massage his feet and legs, because this would be a nice thing for a Brahmin to do. And while he would massage his feet and legs, being a very learned king, he could recite verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so that's what he did. And one of the verses that he recites is a very famous verse, which is spoken by the gopis of Vrindavan. Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kal tav 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 Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalma shapaham shravanamangalam srimad bhuvigrinanti ye burida jana. It's glorifying the devotees of Krishna. It's glorifying the Lord, who is glorified by the devotees. And the verse concludes, Burida Jana, the great magnanimous persons. Those are the persons who actually glorify the Lord. Krishnadas Kaviraj tells us, as soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard Prataparudra quote this verse, he jumped up and he embraced the king and said, Burida, Burida, you are magnanimous. He became so emotional because he was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam quoted by the king who was quoting Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore he saw as magnanimous. So like that, as I mentioned before, you can change the slide now, yes. As I mentioned before, Mahaprabhu is the Lord himself, and he's also the ideal reader and reciter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when he hears the Srimad Bhagavatam, he sometimes would become unconscious. And in his unconscious state, he would have a vision. And in this vision, he would be seeing Krishna together with Radha. And that is what is meant for us to be appreciated about Mahaprabhu and his experience of what is bhakti, what is devotion. And the next verse, not the next verse, the next slide. Yes, thank you. So, internally, what we showed before in the previous verse, that is what Mahaprabhu was about. Externally, this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees, and especially Nityananda Prabhu, you see, ecstatically dancing here on the left side, what they're about. So again, this is a kind of commemoration of the Sankirtan movement, but it is the devotees all together with other devotees relishing the glories of Krishna and his devotees. Okay, and let's see how much. Yes, we can show the next slide. Okay, we're coming pretty much to the end now. I like this painting also. Mahaprabhu emerging out of the sea, calling out to Krishna. Okay, now I have a question for you. Suppose that this painting were in a museum and you are the museum guide. So you're bringing people around and you're showing them, and specifically you're showing them this painting. So you're showing people who have absolutely no idea who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna. They're clueless. So here's my question. How would you explain to them this painting? Anyone want to suggest? maybe to make it a little easier, what would be your suggestion for a title for this painting? Anand, you have a suggestion? To Jesus. Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. Very good. Very good. You're ready. Okay. Maybe anyone else? We have time for one more suggestion. Yes. Oh, good question. Yeah, good question. Yeah. Very practical question. Okay. Yes, yes. Good. Very good question. First of all, yes, it's true. As a very young man, and he was quite young, he was only 24 when Mahaprabhu renounced his family. So before that, he was married. In fact, he was married twice because his first wife um, died either of a snake bite or the snake bite of separation. His second wife, Vishnupriya, how did he support himself? He was a pundit. He was a learned Brahmin, and in that Brahmin society, the Brahmins would perform priestly services, and they would teach. In his case, he was a teacher. He was very learned, especially in what is called Vyakarana, or Sanskrit grammar, and apparently also in Nyaya, or logic. And he had his students, and the system was there were no fixed fees, but they would give, they would donate, they would give uh, sufficient for the Brahmins to live comfortably. After he took sannyas, the renounced order, his duty, so to say, was to be a mendicant, one who wanders from house to house and begs. And it's very much still in India the tradition that when the ascetics, the yogis, the sannyasis, when they come to um, the householders will give something. They'll give some food or some donation. So he was living in that way. However, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was recognized by his followers to be Krishna himself, his followers were all very eager to serve him. And there are descriptions in Chaitanya Charitamrita. They would bring huge bags of food for him, more than more than much more than he could eat. And so some of it would get stored by his servant, uh, and they would have big feasts. So there was no lack of anything for him and his followers. Also, in Puri, when he would stay there and his followers would come from Bengal, it seems that they were supported by the king. The king would arrange that his servants would make sure that everyone was cared for, everyone had a place to stay while they were staying in Puri. They would come every year for like 2 months, and during that time they would be cared for. Okay. In hostels. In Puri, in Jagannath Puri, um, he had a place within the house of what's his name? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Yes. He had sort of, you could say, his own apartment. Um, that was he was well cared for. Yeah. Okay. One more burning question, and then we'll end. Yes. Oh. Oh. Okay. That's a very esoteric interpretation, but it's interesting. Thank you. Thank you. So now I want to say thank you all very much for your great patience in this quite warm weather, and for your patience to be hearing. For some of you, English is not your first language. And I want to wish all of you all the best for continuing on in your devotional lives, and coming always together, celebrating together with Sri Sri Gornitai here in Meckesheim. Yes. Thank you all very much. And I will say, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.